Hello everyone. Let me know once my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes.
Yes, okay, it is visible.
Okay. So today we are going to discuss some basics about Fabric. We will learn how to use the test network which Fabric provides, and then we see how to write a smart contract and deploy it on the Fabric test network, and then we will interact with that smart contract. So first of all, what is Hyperledger? So Hyperledger is an open source community which focus on developing uh, blockchains, frameworks, tools, and library which is used to develop enterprise blockchain. So there are various different frameworks available in the Hyperledger community. Some of them are mentioned here. We will discuss Hyperledger Fabric in detail. Uh, This is Hyperledger Cello and Hyperledger Explorer. These two are the tools which are used to do some operations on already established blockchain. Then there is Hyperledger Fabric and Hyperledger Borrow, which is a framework to deploy a blockchain. And there is a Indy which will be discussed in the fifth assignment. So what is Hyperledger Fabric? So Fabric is a blockchain framework which is designed to develop blockchain in private enterprise. As mentioned in the last slide, that it is a permissioned blockchain. So the flex about the Fabric is that first of all, it provides plug and play components. Like you can change the consensus, membership services, ordering nodes by just using a small APIs that are provided to you. The second biggest flex about the Fabric is that it allow you to write smart contracts in the general purpose languages. As we seen in the last assignment, Ethereum allowed you to write smart contract only in a domain specific language, that is Solidity. But Fabric allow you to write smart contracts in language like Java, Go, and Node.js. The other important thing about the Fabric architecture is it follows a architecture of execute, order, and validate. All the blockchain systems, or I say almost all the blockchain systems which are available across the world, they are built on the model of order and execute. So first of all, they take a block, then they validate it, then they order it, and after all that, they will execute it. Because in that domain, an smart contract needs to be a deterministic. Deterministic means there is a limit of functions which we can do on it. Otherwise, the problem with the older architecture is that if we execute the smart contract before checking it, then it may be possibility that we are going into loop or something. So that's why older version do not provide the execute thing first. So Fabric provide it in this order. We will discuss it in further in the next slides. So these are the few important components of Hyperledger Fabric. We will discuss them one by one. Like first is a ledger. In Hyperledger Fabric, uh, a ledger is comprised of two things. First is a blockchain, which store all the transaction which we are doing on this Fabric. Like whether the transaction is valid or invalid, it is getting a entry into the blockchain in this Fabric. The second thing which this ledger is comprised of is a state database. This database is does is store the current state of the blockchain. Like suppose we are storing some data on our ledger, then the blockchain part will contain all the transactions that you have done till now, and the state database will contain all the key value pairs that you have stored, and the final values that you have stored in the last transaction. Then second thing is smart contract. In Hyperledger Fabric, smart contract is also known as chain code. So we all know that smart contract is a code which is used to access or modify data on the ledger. Then third one is the organizations and the peer node. So in Hyperledger Fabric, when we need to make a network, we first need some organizations. Those organizations are consist of some peer nodes, and those like you can see in this diagram, like there is organization A and organization B. Organization A have two peers, similarly organization B have two peers, and these peers are connected each other with the help of channels. The third is the ordering service. Ordering service, there are some few nodes which are used to order the transactions that are flowing in the Hyperledger Fabric. Like we have seen in the Bitcoin case, that there can be a case of fork. There may be the two block which are generated simultaneously. So in this fabric, this ordering service makes sure that no fork take place during the generation of the blocks. Then there is a channel. A channel is a private subnet which communicate between the two or specific members which the channel is connected with. Like this peer 1 and peer 2 is connected to the channel 1, channel A. So what the channel A have, channel A will have its own chain code and the peers which it is connected with. So the transactions which we are doing on this channel will not be visible to the other peers on the other channels. Then there is a Fabric CA authority. This CA authority is used to provide certificates to all the organizations and peers which are participating in the network. As we know that all the transactions that going from one peer to the orderers and to the other peers that are flowing in the channel are need to be encrypted. So the private public key certificates are provided by the certificate authority. Now, how this whole transaction take place in the Hyperledger Fabric? So first of all, like you want to do a transaction on a ledger. So like suppose in this case, client C want to purchase a pen. So first of all make a transaction proposal which contains some fields. Then this sends the transaction proposal to the all the endorsing nodes. Like here there are three endorsing peers, EP1, EP2 and EP3. These transaction endorsing peers will first of all check whether the proposed transaction is well formed, all the fields which are required for a proposal is there or not. Then secondly, check whether this is a reply attack or not for the protection purpose. Then it will check the signature is valid or not with the help of CA authorities and the MSP. And the last, it will authorize that the proposer have the right to propose a transaction on the in this channel on the Hyperledger. So after all these checks, all the three different endorsing peers will execute this transaction individually. After the execution, a result will a output will come, and then they will sign that output with their private key. And after signing it, they will send the response back to the client. Now what client do? Client collect all the endorsement from all the different endorsing peers. Now there can be a different policies of what kind of endorsing policies we are using in our channel. Like there may be a policy that out of three, any two, if any two of the endorsing peers are endorsing your transaction, then you can go further in the process. So we are considering here in the example that we need all the three endorsements. So once the execution is done and the output is signed by all the endorsing peers, they will reply back to the client. Once the reply get back to the client, the reply is back to the client will check whether the endorsements satisfied or not. Means all the endorsements are saying the same, are giving the same output or not. Once it checks that yes, all the endorsements are correct, then it will pack the transaction and all the three endorsement which it get from the endorsing peers and send it to the ordering service. Now, the ordering service is responsible for making a proper order of all the transactions. Like we have seen in the last figure, image, there are different channels and there is a single ordering service. So there may be different blocks that are coming to the ordering service. So ordering service, what do? Ordering service take all the blocks and then sort them in a channel-wise manner. And this ordering service sometimes use some consensus protocol like RAFT for dealing with like there are in ordering service there are three ordering nodes, and each of these three ordering nodes are getting some transactions. So to come to a consensus that what will be the order of transactions that we are going to append in the block. So to come to that consensus, this ordering service use RAFT. And when ordering services finally append that transaction to a block, then finally it's broadcast that block back to the client and the all other peers which are maintaining the ledger. So in this way the transaction flow works. Now, what we need to have in our system to install Hyperledger Fabric. So this is the link of the page which will provide you all the details you need to install the Hyperledger. I have mentioned the important ones which are need for this assignment that you need to download, like Git, curl, Docker, Docker Compose, and we are going to write our smart contract in Go, so you need to install Go as well. After that, we comes to the installation part. Once you are completed the prerequisite step, then we will start the installation of the Hyperledger. So first of all, we try to go in a in a folder and open a terminal. And after you open a terminal, run this command. What this command do, it will clone the Fabric repository from the GitHub, and all the important files like binary files and the Docker image which is required to run Fabric locally, it will install it from the GitHub. And you will see that a folder with the Fabric sample name is created in your directory. Now here this 2.2.2 and 1.4.9 is a stable version of the Hyperledger Fabric which we will be using for this assignment. So I can show you. Like this is the Fabric version, and this is the Fabric CA version, which we will be specifying. So after the installation, once the installation is done, you will see a folder like this in your system. This Fabric samples. This Fabric samples will contain a lot of folders. We will be dealing with this particular folder called the test network. The Fabric sample folder, which is available on the GitHub, it comes with a test network. So it comes with a folder named test network. So this test network contains two organizations. Each of these organizations have a single peer, and the ordering service is a simplest one. There is a single node, so we do not need any consensus protocol to deal with it. There is a single node which do all the ordering in this network. Now this folder contains a script named network.sh. This script we will be using to do all the things automatically in this assignment. Now, how to start the test network. So first go to the folder test network and then open a terminal. First of all, we will run the command network.sh.down. What this will do, this will delete any of the containers which are artifacts from any previous run. Like we have run the test network before and we have not down it, and we are trying to up the network again. Then there will be uh, 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 some files will get overwrite, and we will not get the exact result which we want. So it is recommended that whenever you are going to start the network, it will be good if you first run this command. So it will remove all the containers if there is any. So I will show you how to start this fabric network with this network.sh.up command. So first we will go to the fabric sample folder, then the test network folder, and here we will open a terminal. So first we will run this network down command. You can see here that it will start removing all the containers in the Docker, which if it found any. Once this process is done, we will start our network with the network.sh up command. Meanwhile, if you have any question, you can ask me. It takes some time. Yes. Now we will start our network with this up command. Here it is mentioned that this test network is using a LabelDB database. So what is LabelDB database? LabelDB database is a key value pair database which stores data in the form of key and a value, which is and the value is in form of JSON. So we can see here that it is creating a orderer node and one peer in organization 2 and one peer in organization 1. Here it is showing that the organization the peer of the organization 1 is running on port 7051. The organization of org 2 is running on 9051 and the order is running on 7050. We will be using these ports when we will interact with the smart contract later. So once our network is on, we need to create a channel between our both the organization 1 and organization 2. So to create a channel, we will run this command. It will create a channel between the peer 1 of organization 1 and the peer 1 of organization 2. If we do not specify any name, then it will create the default channel with the name my channel. So this is the command network.sh create channel. It will start creating the channel using the organization 1. Then it will allow the peers to join this channel. Then it do the same thing for the organization 2. And finally, our channel is now set, and both the organization have joined the channel. Here it is showed that the channel name is my channel. So we have started our network. We have made the channel between the organization 1 and organization 2, and now we are going to deploy a smart contract. So in this fabric sample folder, there are some sample chain codes which are available already. So we will going to deploy a available chain code. Then in the later steps, we will be writing our own chain codes and then deploy it and then interact with it. So as I mentioned that in Hyperledger Fabric, smart contracts also known as chain codes. So chain codes are deployed on the channels, and these are used to interact with the ledger. And with the chain codes, you can create data, update data, delete, transfer, and retrieve data from the ledger. So we will be using this command to start the deploy the chain code over the channel that we have just created. So this is the file which we are using, and then deploy cc is the command that say that we are going to deploy our this chain code which is available in this folder with the name basic. And if here Go is specified that we are using the language Go for this chain code. So first I will go in this folder and show you the chain code. So come to back to the Fabric networks, go in the asset transfer basics, then chain code Go, chain code, and here you can see the chain code. One second. Yes, this is our chain code. I will be explaining it in a minute. First, we will deploy it in our network. So this command will deploy the chain code which is available in this folder on our channel name my channel. Okay. This error is specific to my system. I have not set the path of the Go, so I have to run this specific command to include the path of the Go bin directory in my CLI path. So you do not need to do this. It will take some time. Let me see the smart contract. So this smart contract is written in the language Go. So in the starting there is some imports which we in which we import some library basic libraries of Go, and then there is a import of the contact API, Fabric contact API, which will be using to interact with the ledger with the help of chain code. So here is the asset structure which contains all the attributes which we are going to store in our chain code in the form of JSON. So there is some appraised the owner. So these are the functions which will be understand better when I write a smart contract from scratch. So like this function will be using for the demonstration. So what it does, it takes an argument of contact API, transaction contact interface. This CTX will be used to access the ledger. So what we do, we will make a variable and assign some values in that, and we create an array of type asset. Then we will marshal this asset so that this object will become a JSON object. Finally, we will use this contact API transaction contract interface to get this function put state. Put state is a invoke transaction which will make a transaction proposal for you. What it takes an key and a value. So we are assigning the ID as a key and the JSON as a value here. And this command will upload this entry into your ledger. So I guess our chain code is deployed. So you can see here that the chain code definition is successfully deployed on the peer 0 of organization 1 and the peer 0 of organization 2. So our chain code is deployed on our channel. Now we will interact with this chain code. So to interact with this chain code, we need to set up our command line interface as one of the organization, either organization 1 or organization 2. As organization 1 and organization 2 are the part of this channel, and only those organizations can do the transactions over the chain over that channel. So we will use these commands to set up CLI as organization 1. So first of all, we export the paths. These are the paths of the binaries, like fabric image and all the other the dependencies of the fabric which are required to run the fabric from the command line. Then we will be setting some environmental variables that will allow our CLI to operate as organization 1. First of all, we are enabling the TLS, transport layer security, so that we can encrypt our data. Then we are assigning some values so that for the TLS we need a certificate to sign every entry which is going on the TCP network. So for that we need some attributes like the certificate, which we'll be using for the signing purpose. So these all lines will specify that where can we find that particular certificate value. And finally, we will pass the address at which our organization 1 is running. So I'm just copying paste all these commands in the CLI. So now our CLI is ready to interact with our chain code that we have just deployed on the channel name myChannel. So we see how we will interact with the chain code. There are two types of interaction that we can do with a chain code. First is the invoke and second is the query. On the basis of endorsement policy, this command can will be changed. Like what the invoke does, invoke will change the state of the ledger. Like I told you that the ledger consists of two things. First, the blockchain, which consists of all the transactions, and the second is the state, which is for which level DB is used to maintain the state. So when we are using the invoke command, it will update or change the state in the label DB database. And then there is an other type of query in which we are simply querying some information from the channel. Like we are not updating anything on the state database. So this entry will only get inside the blockchain, but there will not be any update on the state database. So sorry. So I will break this command so it will clarify what it is doing. So first of all, we will running the chain code invoke command. That means we are going to update or change the state of the label DB database. So this first command in blue, it states that we have a orderer which is hosted on localhost 7050, and that CA file that will be used for the transport layer security will be available on this path. Then we will specifying the name of the channel on which we want to invoke this query. Then we will specifying the name of our chain code basic, as we mentioned here. The name of our chain code is basic. Then the attribute in yellow is the address of the first node. The peer address is the first peer is hosted on the localhost 7051, and its TLS certificate is available on in this folder. Now this green line specifies the second peer, which is hosted on 9051, and its TLS root certificate is available on this path in this folder on our local repository. And then finally we have a attribute which is a JSON, which contains the name of the functions and the attributes which we are passing, which this functions required. Like we have seen this function in the chain code. The function name is init ledger, and it required no other functions from the outside. It just taking a single argument which is using this contact API which we have already imported here. So it is using a single argument which need not to provide it from the outside. So I show you once by running this command. Okay, so we have pasted this command here. What it will do, it will invoke this function. What this function will do, the array here, we can see this array. It will put this array into the ledger with the help of this put state function. So here we can see that the chainbook invoke is successful and the result is 200, means the state is okay. So at this time, our all these entries are appended into the LabelDB database current state. So to query all these data, we can use this query command. In this command, we do not need to mention the orderer and any other organization, as all the organization have their local ledger, so they can query the data from their local ledger. So there is no need to send this command to the orderer. So when I ran this command, we can see that the data came as a response in the form of JSON, where we can see the values which we have just passed to the ledger with the help of this init ledger function. So we can see this asset1 blue Tomoko 300, that 300 blue asset1 Tomoko size file. So in this way, we have made an entry into our ledger, and we have retrieved the result with the help of the query command. So this was the basic demo how we can run the test network with the help of the chain code which is provided by the Fabric for the sample purpose. Now I will show you how to write a chain code that you will be doing in your assignment. So we will be using the Fabric Contact API, which is available in the language Go. It provides a high-level high-level endpoint for the application developers for the implementation of the smart contracts. So it provides the CTX context that we have seen that we are passing in each of the functions which are going to interact with with our ledger. So it provides this context which we can use to access the ledger with the function getState and to update the ledger with the function putState. The putState function we have just seen in our init ledger function, that we are using the putState function which take a key and a value, and this will update our ledger. So I will be doing these steps. Also, I have uploaded the code which I am going to show you on the GitHub. So you can go on this link and can download that. for the practice purpose. So first of all, we will make a folder to keep our chain code in that folder. So for the simplicity purpose, yes, I am creating a folder here in the test network folder. I have created a folder named demo. Now create a file named go.mod. This is a Go module file which will contain all the dependencies that is required to run that Go file. So I have this file. You need to mention all the dependencies that required to run your Go file. So I will suggest you to go in this folder, transfer basic, go into the chain code Go, and copy this file, go.mod. This file already contains all the dependencies that will be needing to run the Hyperledger Fabric chain code and to access the Fabric contact API in the Go. So just copy this file into your folder that you have just created, demo. Now open the terminal, make a Go file that will be your the asset, that will be your smart contract. We will be using this file to write a smart contract, and to do no error I am using a already written. Okay, so this go mode file will be used to import all the important libraries. Now we will start with the Go file. So in the first step, we will import all the required libraries. Like FMT is used to print the format the error string into the error format. So FMT is used for that. Log is used to show the logs on the screen on the CLI. And like encoding JSON is used to marshal and unmarshal our structure into the JSON and JSON into the structure back. And finally, this import is used to import the contact API, which will be we will be using to interact with the ledger. After that, we will create a smart contract structure with that contact API. This smart contract will help us to make functions and to access this CTX context interface in all the functions which we are declaring under this structure. Then in step 2, we will construct a ledger, a structure which will contain all the data which we want to insert in our ledger. Like here I have shown a simple structure. It has only one field, string ID. So when we will store this into the ledger, then there will be a single field, like we have seen in the old smart contract. There are multiple fields. So we will see in the assignments as per the need of our problem. We will be changing this structure accordingly. So once the structure is ready, we will start writing some functions which will be used to interact with the chain code. So two most basic functions is to insert some data into the ledger and to retrieve some data from the ledger. So first functions, this is the syntax how we declare the function in the in Go. This is the return type of the function. It will return error if there will be any. Otherwise, it will return null in place of the error. So what this function does, it functions take a single argument apart from this CTX, single argument from the user, like the ID which we want to insert in our ledger. So it takes the ID, then make a variable of this structure type, insert the ID in this variable, then convert this variable into the JSON format, and finally insert this data into the ledger. So as I told you, we need a key value pair. So for the simplicity purpose, I have fixed the key. In this case, you can generate the key. You can either take a attribute from the user which is always unique, or you can create a key with the help of hash. Means whatever data you are getting, you concatenate that and get a hash of it, and then create that as a key. So for the simplicity purpose, I have fixed the key as key. So whatever data I have, I will be sending from the CLI, that will get in the ledger with the key as key, and the data which we are sending in the form of JSON. So this function will create the asset in our ledger. Then there is a second function which will be used to read the data from the ledger. So put state is used to put the data into the ledger, and the get state is used to get the data from the ledger for a particular ID. So this function will be taking an argument ID, we will be passing from the outside. So it will take the ID, it will go to the ledger and check if there is an entry with this ID or not. If there is some error, then this error will be returned, and if the entry is not in the ledger, then this message will be written that the asset with this particular ID does not exist. In the case we found a particular entry with this ID, we need to convert this JSON back into the asset type. So we will use the unmarsal function for that purpose. So what it does, it converts this JSON into the object back to our structure object, and then we will finally passing this object back to our CLI. And there is another attribute in the return. This is an error. So in the case of success, the error will be null. So this is the simple smart contract. In the main function, we will be calling the contact API dot new chain code, and in that chain code we will be passing the reference of our structure type, which we will be using for creating this smart contract. And if there will be any error in our smart contract, then this message will be there, and if there is any error after the execution of the smart contract, then this error will be shown on your screen. So I'm copying this chain code in our demo folder. So come back to the demo folder. Now we have created the structure and added the functions in the smart contract to interact with the ledger. Finally, we will run this go 111 module command. What this command do, whatever we mentioned in this go mod file, all the dependencies that are required to run this smart contract, this command will download all these dependencies and store all them into a folder named vendor. So it might take few seconds. Okay, that's all long. So it will create a folder named vendor, and this vendor will contain all the required libraries which we need for this smart contract. Now we are all done with the writing the smart contract. As in the assignment, you need all these four things in your folder to run a smart contract on your network. Now we will come back to the test network folder. First, we will stop our network, and we will repeat all the commands which we have done in the demo before. So it will take some time. So if you have any doubt till now, you can ask. Hello, sir.
Yes, we can.
Sir, should I go with the assignment while all these steps are going?
No, I mean you can complete this first. Then
Okay.
this fine. If it takes time, we have time.
Okay.
Yeah, we have time. So let us complete this.
So this up command will start the network again. Because we are changing our chain code, so we need to stop the network and start it fresh again. Now the network is up and all the three nodes which we need are deployed. So we will create a channel. This channel will be created between the organization 1 and 2 shown earlier. Okay, after the channel creation, these are already set. So we are going to deploy our chain code. So this was the path of the chain code which was provided by the sample Hyperledger fabric. Now we will be replacing this path with our own chain code folder. Okay, so our folder is inside this test network with the name demo. So that's it. We just need to give the folder name here. Okay, this error. My go path is not set. That's why I'm getting this error. You will not get this error if you install the go properly. So don't worry about it. So once we run this demo command, if there will be any error in our chain code, it will show right here. Otherwise, it install this chain code on both the peers. Like it is showing that it is installing the chain code on peer 1. After this gets installed on both the peers, we will be using these two functions to interact with our ledger. First, I will show you with this function read asset. I will give a key that is not already on the ledger, and it will throw this error. The asset is not exist. Then we will make an entry with some ID, and then we will retrieve that from the ledger. Yeah, the chain code definition is approved on organization 1. Now it will do the same for the organization 2. It is approved from the organization 2. It is committing the chain code, and finally our chain code is successfully installed on both the peers, organization 1 and the peer 0 of organization 1 and organization 2. Now we will using this invoke command to interact with our ledger. So till this point the command will remain same, as our orderer is at 7050, peer is at 7051 and 9051. After that, the function name and the arguments change according to the chain code. So in our chain code, we have a function with the name create asset, and it takes a single attributes ID. So first I run a read asset command with a invalid ID. So there is no entry in the ledger till yet. So when we run this command, okay, I have to set the CLI. I forgot this step. We need to set the CLI as the organization 1. Now okay. So we will run that command again, read a set with the argument ABC. So there is no entry in the data in the ledger, so we will get an error that endorsement failed, and the response is the asset ABC does not exist. So now we will make an entry in our ledger. Yes, create asset, and I am giving the attribute name VIP123. So we will get a message that the chain code invoke is successful and the result is 200. This means that this entry is appended into the label.db database in our ledger. Now we can retrieve this with the key. We have fixed the value of the key. So when we want to retrieve something, we need to pass the key to the get state function. So we will be passing this value key. So when we pass this value key, it will return the payload with the ID, the attribute which we have stored, and the value VIP123. And if we try to access some another ID, we will get the error that the key 123 does not exist. So always try to stop the chain code after once you have done, means stop the network once you have done, because it takes a lot of memory. And I am done with the presentation. If you have any query, you can ask. Otherwise, I will move to the assignment.
Okay, so just a clarification. So if you want, you can install more than one chain code on the same network without stopping it. So just for this presentation purpose, since we kept all the command and the chain code names same, we just restarted the network. So if you want to install more than one chain code, during the chain code deployment step, you need to name your chain code differently. And similarly, if you are upgrading a chain code to a different version, then that also is possible. You check the documentation, you need to change specify a version number of the chain code if you want to update it. With higher version numbers, if you deploy a new chain code, then that will be updated. Okay. Yes, I think we can go to the assignment now.
Okay. So in this assignment, there is two part A and part B. In both parts, we will be writing a smart contract in the language Go. So this is the instructions. I have shown you the folder which we have created for the demo purpose. One second. This demo folder. So this demo folder have this four values, four data. So you have to create a folder named A3 roll number. Inside that you will create two folders, part A, part B. Both part A and part B will look like this. Then you need continue this smart contract, and finally you need to submit the zip of this A3 roll number folder onto the Moodle. So we will start with the part A. In part A, you need to write a simplest chain code in which the structure will have two values, the roll number and the name. We will be storing the student data. So roll number will be the primary key. As I have shown in the example, I have set the key static as a key. In your case, roll number will be the key for the entries which are going into the ledger, and it need to be unique. Now you need, for this chain code, you need to write three functions. I have shown you two functions, and similarly you have to write three functions. And the signature of these functions should be exactly same. Means you should copy paste this line to your smart contract. There will be nothing change in this signature of the functions, all the three functions which are mentioned here. So here is a simple description how you can implement this function. As you see, it will return an error if there is any, otherwise it will return nil. This function will take two values, roll number and name. As in this case, we have taken a single value, string ID. Then it will check with another function student exists if this roll number is already exist or not. If this roll number is already exist on the ledger, you just return an error message that this roll number is already present. Otherwise, you just add this roll number and name into the ledger with the help of this ctx get stub.putState function, as I shown here simply. Then second function is student exist, which we have used here for checking purpose. So this function return two things, a bool and an error. So this function take a single argument roll number, which is a key for our ledger. So it will return boolean true if the entry is already there and false otherwise. And to check whether this entry is there or not, you can use the this function ctx.getStub.getState, which I have shown you in the read asset function here. So it will let you know whether the entry is in there in the ledger or not. And the final function is a read student function, which is similar to this read asset function. In this, you will take the roll number, which is a key, and if there is an entry corresponding to this roll number, then you return the name of that student. As we have storing two things, roll number and the name. So we will give you the roll number and you will return the corresponding name against that roll number in that ledger. And error if the entry is not there. So first part is clear. Any question? Okay, so we come to the part B. It is a little bigger part than the last one. So in this case, you need to write a chain code in which we are storing binary search tree as a data on the ledger. And as we shown that in our test network, there are two peers, peer 0 of organization 1 and peer 0 of organization 2. So in this second part case, we will be using 3 or 4 or multiple peers, which will execute invoke transactions, insert the data into the binary search tree, and retrieve the data from the binary search tree. So you need to make a structure that will store a binary search tree in your ledger. For that, we have given you the pseudo code for the binary search tree structure. You can follow it. It will be more convenient. Otherwise, you can change as your if you do not want to use this one. Now, like the last part, here also the first 5 functions which is mentioned in red and the name are specified here. These are the functions for which the signature should be exactly same, because we will be using these functions to check evaluate the assignments. So the like this insert function, this part should be same. After that, I have shown some details in every function, that it will return a simple error as a simple create asset function, and this function will take a single integer value and insert it into the BST. So what can do it is in the process which I have suggested you to do. First, you check in the ledger whether the BST is available or not, means BST is already there or not with this function. Then if the BST is available, you can use the update my BST function to insert this value into the BST. Otherwise, if the BST is not there, you will create a BST with the root having this value. And here I have write that you need to compute a unique key that will represent this tree entry in the ledger. So it is not compulsory to create an unique key. If you want, you can create a static key also, like I have created in this demo. You can create a static key and insert the data in that particular key. with the help of this put state function. So then the second function is the delete function. Here also a argument is passed with a value, integer value. You will check, you need to delete this value from the BST if it is present. So it will return an error if the value is not in the BST already. So again, you can use this read my BST function to check whether the BST exists or not. Then you can use the same update my BST function to delete the value from the BST. These functions are below in the assignment. I will explain them also. If the entry is not there, you will throw the error. And the rules of the deletion are mentioned later in the assignment. We will discuss that also. Then there are three functions: pre-order, in-order, and tree height. First is the pre-order. It will not take any argument from outside, and it will return a string and error pair. So what it will return a string of the pre-order of the tree, and if the tree is not present, then it will return an error that the tree is empty or anything, whatever error you want to print. So make sure that the format of the string is exact as the same in the example, means the integer with the comma separated and there is no space in between. So follow this convention, it will be convenient. Yes, sorry, if there is no BST exists, return the blank string. Do not return the error, sorry for the confusion. Return the blank string if no BST is present on the ledger. In the case of any error during the execution, then you return the error. Okay. Similarly, for the in order, you would need to return the string in order in the form of string with a comma separated. Here also you need to follow the convention, the integer with comma separated, nothing else in between. Then the third and the final fifth function is the tree height. It will also return a string with a single integer, which will be the height of the tree. If the tree is only having a single root, the height will be 0. Oh, sorry, 1. And if the tree is empty, then the height is 0. So this function can also use the read my BST to check whether the tree is present or not. If not, then you can return 0. That the tree is not present, so the height is 0. Otherwise, you can use the helper function height of tree to find the height of the BST, which is stored in the ledger. Now these five functions are need to be the signature of these five functions need to be as it is as mentioned in the assignment. After that, I have also mentioned the some helper functions which I have mentioned during the explanation of these functions. Like first, the myBST exists. This will you can use this function. It will take the key and check whether the BSTs exist or not. If exist, it will pass true, false otherwise, and error if there will be any error in the execution of the chain code, like the key is not present or anything. So it will be using the get state function to check whether the BST corresponding to this key is present or not. Similarly, there is a function with read my BST. It is similar to the function this read asset. It will use the get state and the key, which will be static if you want, and read the tree and the return the tree to the function which is calling. These are all the what I call optional functions, the helper functions, which you want, then you can write them, otherwise not. Then there is a update myBST. What it takes a value and the BST, hold the BST tree with the help of you can with the help of this function, and an operation integer. You can also take it bool. This operation integer either be 0 or 1. So what this function do, if the value is 0, it means we need to insert this value which we are passing in this function. So we will be using another helper function insert value to insert this value in the BST root. And if the value of the operation is 1, then we will be using then we will need to delete this value from the BST, and then we will use this another helper function delete value to delete this value from the BST. So what we are doing, we have first taken the means retrieve the BST from the ledger. Then we have update the BST locally. So we need to update the ledger also. So once we have updated the BST locally, then what we do, we will again run this command put state with the same key value and pass the new BST root in the form of JSON. So what this will do, this will update your BST in the ledger. So also make sure on deleting a node, if the tree gets empty, in that case you need to delete the entry from the ledger. This is the new function I have not discussed yet. It is also like put state, so you need the endorsement for it. What is do, it takes a key and it will delete the entry corresponding to this key in the label database, which store the key value pairs. So when we are deleting the last key, last node from the BST, you also delete that entry from the ledger. After that, there are some helper function like insert value, which will insert the value at the correct place according to the BST rule, and do not insert duplicates. If the value is already present, just skip the insertion. You do not need to give any error or anything. If there is a value already present and it is a duplicate, then you just skip. So like you have inserted that value, just that. Now there is a delete value. So these are the rules of the deletion, that if both node children are present, then replace the node's value with the in order successor of the node. Means the in order successor, and then delete the in order successor. If only one node of children is present, replace this node's value with the children and delete the child. And if no child is present, just delete the node. The simple rules. Finally, there are other helping functions. If you want to use like pre-order traversal, which will used by this function pre-order to generate the pre-order of the BST. Similarly, there is a function with in-order traversal to help this function, and there is another function with height of the tree, which will help you to find the height of the tree and return to this function. So these are the functions. This I have already mentioned. If the tree is empty, then return 0, and if there is only one root, then the height will be the 1. So this is the assignment I have done from my side. If you have any query, you can ask. Vishak sir, you want to mention something?
No, it is fine. Thank you.
Okay. Slides and the assignment both are uploaded in the Teams. Assignment is available in the assignment folder, and the slide is available in the class material folder. And each of the slide contains the link to the Hyperledger Fabric doc. So if you have any doubt or anything is not clear to you, you can always go to this website and read in detail. Each and every slide have the link. And the final slide, I have also mentioned the link of the code that I have uploaded on the GitHub that I just showed you, which is the simplest structure with a single ID.
So yes, for the assignment, make sure you follow the submission instructions very carefully. So you need to actually create two subfolders for part A and part B. Name these folders exactly as specified here. Okay, and also for each part, so this part, for example, this part A folder should have your chain code, and whenever if we specify the path to this part A folder in the deploy cc script, then it should be able to install your chain code from there. Okay, make sure that. So it should contain these files, your chain code Go file and then go mod and also perhaps the vendor if you turn on vendoring.
Should I stop presenting?
Yes,
Yes.
I think it's fine.
So
Thank you all.
this has 1 week of deadline. So please go through the documentation, the recording and all the materials that are available. So you need to look into the documentation and accordingly start solving it. And if you have any doubt, need any clarification, you can get connected to Bishak or Vipral. So yeah, carry on with this assignment. Okay, fine. So we are online for the next 15 minutes. So you can possibly go through the documentation as well as the assignment statement if you need any clarification or have any query, you can reach us.
Hello, sir. Sir? Hello.
Ritikesh, you are not audible.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yeah, Ritika, so you can hear you, but the voice is a bit low. And if you can increase the voice,
Sir, I wanted to ask the question which came in quiz.
yeah, now
how,
it is okay.
yeah, so what will the minimum number of nodes required for to reach consensus with 2 crash faults and 3 Byzantine faults?
So that's regarding the test.
Yes, sir. So the answer was given 16, but according to me, I guess it's 12. So yeah, could you please explain?
So it is something like that. You have 3 Byzantine node and 2 crash fault, right? Three,
Yes, sir.
right? So
Yes, sir.
whenever you have Byzantine faults, well, so at that time, what you should assume, I mean, that is the basic principle of Byzantine nodes, because see, say in a network, if you know that there can be Byzantine fault, well, so the moment you are assuming that there can be Byzantine fault, even if there is a single Byzantine fault, you need to go with the 3f plus 1 rule. Why 3f plus 1 rule? Because whenever there is a failure, explicitly you do not know whether that is a crash fault or that is a Byzantine fault. Well, so that way, if you know that there can be a single Byzantine fault, then all the faults that can happen in the network together you should consider as means under the 3f plus 1 rule. That means together if you have f number of faults, you should have at most, or you should have at least 3f plus 1 nodes to reach consensus. Now here you have 3 Byzantine fault and 2 crash fault. So together you should consider f equal to 3 plus 2 equal to 5. So the minimum number of nodes required is 3f plus 1. That means 15 plus 1, 16.
Sir, but I can also say that I can reach consensus with 12 number of nodes. Since I know for sure that there are only 3 Byzantine faulty nodes. Okay, so suppose 2 are crash fault nodes which are not sending any messages, and 3 are Byzantine faulty nodes. So I have a remaining of 7 nodes, and 7 are correct nodes. So they can achieve a consensus among them, right? They will have a majority.
It is not like that. For the Byzantine nodes, you do not know whether they are not going to send message or they are going to send wrong message. Okay, so this is the crux in this entire design of BFT protocol. Okay, so the BFT protocol, whenever we say that there are f number of faulty nodes, that basically means this f number of faulty nodes are together with the crash fault, the Byzantine fault, and the network fault. Well, because you cannot differentiate between them. Well, you know that there can be fault.
Yeah,
But
but
what
in the
type of
question,
fault that you do not.
but in the question it was said that we know there can be at max 3 Byzantine fault, right? So
Not at max 3 Byzantine fault. You know that there are 2 crash fault and 3 Byzantine fault.
yeah, so then I can for surety would say that I can reach consensus at 12 nodes.
No. So just think of it in from this direction. Well, so that is the maximum number of faults that can happen, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
at the instance of time, whenever you are receiving the message, so this is the idea of the quorum, that whenever you are receiving the message, you do not know how much fault has actually been occurred.
Okay.
Okay. So it is not like that. It is always there are 3 faults or always there are 2 faults. Well, so it is something like that. That is the maximum bound which can happen. Well, but at the instance of time, how many fault has actually been happened, that you do not know.
Okay.
If we can detect the fault, so remember that if we can detect the fault specifically, well, then you could release the 3f plus 1 bound. So for example, there are this kind of fault tolerant algorithm. So for example, if you look into this cross fault tolerant algorithm, XFT paper, so that got published, I guess, in 2009 in NSTI or OSTI. I forgot the exact conference. So that cross-fault tolerant idea, what they did, their idea was something different. Their idea was to detect the fault first, and after you have detected the fault, then recover from the fault. Now, if you can detect the fault, then you are in a nice place. So you know that these are the nodes which have been faulty, and this is the specific fault which has happened. Well, if that is the case, then your algorithm becomes easier. Well, but our typical fault tolerant algorithms, they assume that you cannot detect the fault. You only know that this many maximum number of fault can happen, but where it has happened, or what type of fault has actually happened, or how many fault has been happened, that you do not know.
Okay. Okay, sir. So like, if like let us say that 2 nodes have crashed, okay, and then 10 are working, out of which 3 are Byzantine, and then they can send any message. Okay, so
no, it is not like that. So it might also happen that that 2 crash fault has not happened. There are only 3 Byzantine.
okay,
Or even it might also happen that there are 2 crash and 1 Byzantine.
but they are receiving message. Okay, like so like there can be 2 cases. Either there is a crash or there is no crash fault. Okay, so like
And also remember that this is an asynchronous system.
yeah.
So this is an asynchronous system, means you do not have any bound on the message reception. So that way, if you are not receiving a message, you do not know that what has actually happened, whether that is a crash fault or whether that is a Byzantine fault, because even the Byzantine faulty nodes cannot send any message, or well, or whether it is a delay from the network side. So if you just get a clear idea that, or kind of clear formula about this particular theorem, what I would suggest you to look into the formal proof of that 3a plus 1. Okay, so there are multiple articles in the internet which are available, which consider this message passing interface and all this. So look into the formal proof. In the class, I have not discussed the formal proof, but look into the formal proof.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yes.